And welcome to this week's Wellness Webcast. I am Mo Wolf, CEO of Little Honeys LLC, makers of Bee Rescued Propolis Care and Bee Energized raw bee pollen products. Music's still going. It's a beautiful day, a little bit rainy outside, but we need that. We're all a little bit tired here. We've had a spike in business. Things are getting busy. It's just a beautiful time of year. The bees are full of working on their honey. They've got the honey flow on. Was out in the bee yards 2 days ago and got to spend some time with the bees and just had a wonderful time. There's few things are as pretty in life as a beautiful day and the bees bringing in nectar. Absolutely stunning. What? Yes, Julius. Yes, Julia, you folks can't see this, but right now I'm on. Well, we use Facebook between the two rooms. Julius is in a room over there, locked away where she should be. And I am in here, firmly ensconced behind the desk, which is the flagship of Little Honeys. How's that for hot air? And we're going back and forth over Facebook. That's how she tells me when someone calls in, and that's how she in general heckles me. Well, she just told me, it's in print, by the way. She just told me that I look like a cat that's been drugged through a keyhole backwards. How's that for a loving mother's edification of her son? Thanks a lot. Well, I should look that way. Well, I was working yesterday. Can someone remove Julius's keyboard? Good grief, man. I was working yesterday. I was at Hy-Vee grocery stores yesterday. I spent 4 hours between 10 and 2 yesterday at the Hy-Vee store in Marion, Iowa. Got to meet some wonderful people there, have some great conversations. The store and the store staff and the customers that come in just had a great time. And then we went over to a store in Cedar Rapids, one of the Cedar Rapids stores. I know there's a lot of stores in that area. There's 16 Hy-Vee stores in and around Cedar Rapids. But one of the stores that we went to, and I'm sorry I can't remember the street that it was on or the store number that it was, but they were doing a special with their flowers, and so you walk in the door and there's all these beautiful flowers right there, and there's bumblebee and honeybee balloons, and there's all these different products related to bees and honey. And right smack dab in the middle was Bee Rescued Propolis Care. And so we set up our demo table and had that big beehive that we take with us. It had about 20,000, 25,000 bees in there, and stood there for another 4 or 5 hours talking with folks, and in general having a great time. It's successful when people miss you at one store and they drive literally across town and get there to the second store so that way they can come see the bees. That's how exciting it is for folks to have the opportunity to meet these bees. So we had a wonderful time. Made a lot of new friends, and both at Hy-Vee employees and the customers, and I want to thank you all for having me there. It was just a great time. And so yes, Julius, I'm a little tired right now. You would be too. I love tea. How's that for a transition, Norm? Yes, I am sitting here at the Wellness Webcast desk. I've got Mr. Norman Sadler in the room to keep me on track. Fine job you're doing, young man. What are we talking about this week? We are talking about, I'll get to the point, we are talking about simple changes to make in your life and behavior that will yield great results, bringing you closer towards your end goal. Now, before you can begin anything, you must write down your goal. Before you jump in the car and drive across country, you circle where you end up on that map. Either, if you have a map in hand, you circle it, or you pinpoint it with your brain so that you know, hey, I am going to Whoopsahanny, Oklahoma. I don't think there is a Whoopsahanny, Oklahoma. Whoops. They're going to start throwing produce at me soon. But the point is, you identify where you're going, what your end goal is, and you start making your way. Well, it's the same in life and in wellness. You must first start with identifying what your goal is. Maybe you're a little overweight. Maybe you've got high blood pressure. Maybe you're a diabetic. Maybe you're in pretty good shape, but you know that you could do better. Maybe your health is just falling apart. I talked to one gentleman yesterday telling me a loved one who is pretty far along end-stage cancer, and the dear lady has given up. Maybe your goal is to take these last few weeks, months, and live them as well as you can. Well, the way you do this is you identify your goal, and then you start making those small steps towards achieving that goal. Well, let's talk about breakfast. I know that's not a very sexy topic. Breakfast. Woohoo! Eggs and bacon. Cereal. Problem is, most people seem to be skipping breakfast. The American Journal of Medicine, the American Medical Journal, excuse me, AMA, Medical American. You see, this is why you shouldn't be sleep deprived and come and do a webcast. People look at you and say, boy, he looks terrible and he doesn't know what he's talking about. The AMA, I'm gonna save this. The AMA did a study recently, and in their study they found that people that skip breakfast are increasing their risk factors for developing type 2 diabetes by 20%. That's pretty amazing. It gets worse. Ladies who skip breakfast can increase their risk. Pay attention, please. Ladies that skip breakfast can increase their risk for type 2 diabetes by as much as 54%. Now you couple that risk factor with various other risk factors, say statin drugs. Say you're a lady and you're on statin drugs. Statin drugs in women can increase their risk factors of developing diabetes by up to 50%. So suddenly you're facing a severe uphill climb to wellness because you've got all of these factors bearing down on you, making sure that you're going to get sick later. Well, remember identifying the goal? The goal is wellness and beautiful living. Well, one of the simple things you can do is start eating breakfast. Breakfast, so important. One 5-year study conducted by Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, published back in 2008, found that by consuming up to 50% of the total daily energy intake at breakfast enables the body to metabolize calories more effectively, which leads to better maintenance and weight loss. Trying to lose weight? Well, start eating breakfast. Get your sorry rear end out of bed, young man, and you go eat your breakfast. Breakfast is important for cognitive function. A study done back in 2008 in Japan, a nationwide study, this was in the UK Telegraph back in 2008, a nationwide survey in Japan examining the sexual experiences, family relationships, lifestyle habits of 1,500 Japanese students found an unexpected connection between eating breakfast and teenage sex. The average age of first-time sex for those who ate breakfast every day as a school student was 19.4 years old, compared to 17.5 years of age for those who skipped breakfast every day. So there's a direct correlation between skipping breakfast and being more promiscuous as teenagers. How many teenagers do we know that skip breakfast every day? If you're not feeding your body and giving your body the fuel that it needs to run, your body can't fuel this thing up here. That forebrain is where all of your willpower is stored. If you're not nourishing those cells, how can you function properly? Well, let's keep going, shall we? This is some interesting stuff. According to WebMD, Jeannie Lurch Davis, and I'm sorry if I just butchered your name and embarrassed you by the Addams Family reference. It was not intended. Sorry. The article on WebMD called Lose Weight, Eat Breakfast by Jeannie Lurch Davis. I did it again? I'm sorry, I really am. I'm grinning because it just sounded funny to call you Lurch. All right, I'm done with that. WebMD article about losing weight and eating breakfast by someone by the last name of Davis. She writes about eating breakfast is a daily habit for the successful losers who belong to the national. Eating breakfast is the daily habit for the successful losers. I'm sorry, but this reminded me of something. All through June, this is a personal note. Mr. Sadler, stick a pin in wherever we're at. We got a sidetrack. When I was in junior high and high school, my mother, also known as Julius, the one that heckles me on here, the Peanut Gallery, her nickname for me was Loser. And people find that out and they go, oh, that's terrible. I don't know as it is. I think she was calling a spade, because a couple weeks ago, I went to tease one of my siblings, and I said, loser! And then that whole spatial thing in dyslexia kicked in, and I had the L backwards, and I think she was calling a spade, quite frankly. But according to this article in WebMD by Lurch, sorry, no, I'm not. Eating breakfast is a daily habit for the successful losers who belong to the National Weight Control Registry. Now, I know I've been kind of teasing this and tongue-in-cheek, but these people have done an amazing feat. These successful losers are people who have maintained a 30-pound or more weight loss. That's pretty significant. for at least a year, and some of them as long as 6 years. Most of the 78% reported eating breakfast every day, and almost 90% of these successful losers reported eating breakfast at least 5 days a week, says Jim O. Hill, PhD, the registry's co-founder and the director of the Center of Human Nutrition at the University of Colorado Health Sciences Center. So these people who have not only dropped significant amounts of weight, but managed to keep it off, what do they have in common? Well, 78% of them have in common eating breakfast every day. 90% of them have in common eating breakfast at least 5 days a week. Well, remember on that page that I threw over there, they talked about how consuming a great portion of your energy in the morning sets your metabolism upright so that it can better function throughout the day and better process calories and energy, which sets up your metabolism for the day. When we're not priming the pump, if you will, and when we're not eating our breakfast, a good breakfast, then we're running into the problem of, well, basically what happens is when we finally do eat after this 15, 18, 20-hour fast, we're causing a spike in our blood sugar levels, which, gets us more susceptible down the road to developing type 2 diabetes, but we're also shocking the body. Do you remember the actor that died a couple weeks ago? I can't remember his name. I don't watch much TV, and otherwise I probably would know it. But the actor was in Rome, had a very rich, heavy meal, and had a heart attack. Well, one of the mainstream doctors that's on television talked about how, his meal is probably what killed him. And people were saying, no, he couldn't have died from that, But wait a minute. When you're consuming these rich, heavy foods, and probably after a long-term fast, one of the things that happens is the blood gets diverted in the body, inflammation takes place, venules and arteries and different bloodstream start to constrict, and if there's already plaque on the interior walls of these vessels, your blood supply is getting cut off more and more. He had a heart attack. The idea is prime the pump in the morning with good, wholesome food, and not only will your brain be thinking better, but your body will be functioning more smoothly. You won't be shocking your body. A group of researchers analyzed data from government-funded study, let's keep going with this WebMD article, that followed more than 2,000 young girls from the ages of 9 to 19. They found that regular cereal eaters, breakfast eaters, had fewer weight problems than infrequent cereal eaters. Those who ate cereal occasionally had a 13% higher risk of being overweight compared to the regular cereal eaters. The idea is breakfast. Cereal is not a good breakfast food. Cereal is great stuff. It's awesome stuff as a packing material, as far as I'm concerned. You look at what's in it, and it's ultra-refined starches and sugars, and a lot of sugars. Then you couple that with milk that's been, loaded and cooked, and all of the nutrition has been changed in it, filled with hormones. Suddenly a bowl of cereal does not sound so good. But, according to some of this research, even a bowl of cereal is better than not eating anything at all, as far as obesity and gaining weight. Another research group analyzed government data on 4,200 adults. They found that regular breakfast eaters were more likely to exercise. You're more in tune with what's going on in your body. And women who ate breakfast regularly tended to eat fewer calories during the day. These men and women who ate breakfast cereal had lower overall fat intake compared to those who ate other breakfast foods. Elizabetta Pulte, nutrition manager for the Duke Diet and Fitness Center at Duke University Medical School, says, when you don't eat breakfast, you're actually fasting 15 to 20 hours, so you're not producing the enzymes needed to metabolize fat to lose weight. You heard it right here. You want to lose weight? Start eating breakfast. You want to think clearer in the morning? Start eating breakfast. You want to, you want to have a better immune system? Start eating breakfast. Because if your body's not getting nourished, your body is going to start cutting back those auxiliary functions. One of those auxiliary functions being immune system. Your immune system gets compromised. Do you see how important breakfast is? And I know we've got plenty of time here. We've got another, 10 minutes to go on this? I've got all kinds of material here. A Harvard study of more than 17,000 men found that those who ate breakfast consistently weighed those less than those who rarely or never ate breakfast. Here's an interesting study presented in 2007 at the Experimental Biology meeting. It's a study that compared women who ate a bagel for breakfast. They were trying to lose weight, and they were eating a bagel at breakfast. Ooh, a whole grain bagel. That's supposed to be good for you. Compared to ladies who were trying to lose weight, and they had the same portion size of eggs for breakfast. Now you're immediately saying, "Oh, fried eggs, that's terrible. We can't have that." Oh, wait a minute. If you're frying it in the appropriate oil, say you're frying it in some avocado oil, say some olive oil, coconut oil, say you're using a good oil, then a fried egg isn't so bad. And we don't know if it was fried eggs or if it was poached eggs. We don't know if it was hard-boiled eggs. We just know that they were eating 2 eggs for breakfast. And here's the results. Compared to the bagel eaters, overweight women who ate 2 eggs for breakfast 5 times a week for 8 weeks as part of a low-fat, reduced-calorie diet lost, are you ready for this? Drum roll, please. 65% more weight. Reduced waist circumference by 83%, reported higher energy levels, and had no significant difference in their blood cholesterol or triglyceride levels. Right here. In black and white. Still want to skip breakfast? Still want to have that bagel for breakfast? Ooh, boy. Still want to have that bowl of wicker baskets for breakfast? You skip breakfast and you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to be a loser. Mr. Sadler's shaking his head at me. He's probably going to write which hand is which, right, left. What scientists and doctors have found is that people who begin their day with good, clean, lean protein eliminate the refined sugars, the refined starches, get simple stuff, and you use that for your breakfast, those folks tend to have better metabolisms. They tend to be less overweight. They tend to exercise more. They tend to be overall healthier. Now, as many of you know, I'm into traditional Chinese medicine. In Chinese medicine, you've got this thing called spleen qi, the energy of the spleen, and that spleen qi gets damaged by eating the wrong food. That's one of the ways it gets damaged. So if you are starting your day with an ice cold shake, loaded with berries and all this fun stuff, well, I'm glad you're eating breakfast. That's better than nothing. But all of that coldness goes into the body, and it sits there, and your body has to spend energy to warm it up in order to make it usable. And this is where, in Chinese medicine, they get the concept of damaging the spleen qi, because the spleen has to expend energy to warm up what's in the stomach so that it can be fermented and digested and used, turned into gu qi, which then gets blended with the da qi and then zhang qi. You know, let's cut the esoteric. Your body has to expend energy to warm up the food in order to digest it. Any lipids that might be in your food, if you're drinking cold milk, those lipids have to be warmed up in order to be absorbed and used. Nutrients have to be brought up to the body temperature. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to get any nutritional benefit. Yeah, you are. But ideally, you want to warm up the food before you put it in your body. Now, we talked about lean, clean protein. There's a difference between just eating protein and eating lean, clean protein. One of the most beautiful things out there for protein is this: bee energized raw bee pollen. Bee pollen, raw bee pollen, has more protein in it, ounce per ounce, than an egg. More usable, good protein than an egg. It contains all of the vitamins, minerals, all of the nutrients, the proteins, the amino acids, everything you need packed right in here. So when you make your breakfast oatmeal, or hopefully I've intrigued you with the concept of a warm, easy to digest meal, and you go and you Google what a congee is, a Chinese rice porridge type deal where you have overhydrated rice that you've cooked with some good lean meat, some vegetables that you've put in there, and you've cooked it all together, and there's a nice broth, and it's actually fantastic and awesome in the morning. Put some of this in there with it. Put a teaspoon of your pollen in there with it. If you really must and you insist on having your shakes in the morning, oh, I've got the shakes. No, not that kind of shake, Mr. Sadler. If you're going to insist on having a shake for breakfast, put a teaspoon of pollen in it so you're getting your protein, your good, clean, and lean protein. It's important stuff that we're talking about. Yep. Julius is... Okay, I'll tell him. Oh, okay. Julius was just telling me that we know a lady who actually lost weight by eating the bee-energized bee pollen. And this dear lady would eat the pollen with her breakfast, and then she'd also snack on it between meals. Well, what happens when you start putting pollen into your, or I'm sorry, what happens when you start ingesting protein? When you're ingesting the protein, you are satiating the body's cravings. Your body doesn't need that fuel as much because it's getting all it needs, and so your body doesn't need to crave snackage in between meals. And then when you get to a meal, your body's not, feed me. Your body is easier to maintain and control. Well, this dear lady, not only did she lose weight, but she's managed to keep that weight off, and she's more active. Now, what happened? Did she make big changes to her life? No, she just started eating bee pollen. Remember, it's about little tiny changes. Identifying your goal. I want to get here, and making the little minor course corrections to get you there. And each little minor course correction takes you a little closer and a little closer. And the minor course corrections are easier to maintain than, got to turn the whole thing around. You need a 40-acre field to turn that Cadillac around. No, minor corrections. This lady is more active now. She's lost her weight. She's lower risk for diabetes, lower risk for depression. She sleeps better. Her overall health and wellness is much better, meaning quality of life is better. I hope I've conveyed to you the importance of something as simple as eating breakfast. Now, a lot of you are going to say, that runty little guy, what does he know? Well, that's a good question. Julius will tell you not much. She just agreed. No, Mr. Sadler, not you too. Good help is hard to find. In the words of my, what was that, sophomore year of high school teacher, who said, edifies, stupid. That's neither here nor there. I'm being mouthy. These simple changes are important, and I hope you begin to see how important breakfast is. The basics. Take care of the little things, take care of the basics, and the bigger things will start falling into place. On behalf of all of us here at Be Rescued and Be Energized Raw Bee Pollen Products, I want to say thank you for watching these shows. We are thinking about changing the time that these air, so if you have any suggestions on what would be a more appropriate time, a better time for you and your family and your friends to watch these, please let me know. Otherwise, if you're satisfied watching them taped on YouTube, then you're a happy camper anyway. But I want to thank you for watching, and I want to thank you for supporting our products. It means a lot to my family and means a lot to me personally. Thank you for coming out when we're at the stores and saying hello. That too is very helpful. The music is coming. We're out of time already. Good grief. This is the fastest half hour on the internet, in the media in general, I think. Fastest half hour in the media. See, we just elevated and expanded our world. The Wellness Webcast, shown all across the country and around the world, Canada and the US, to name a few. Thank you for watching, and until next week, be well.